You tell me how a president in the middle of a pandemic has got time for this bullshit. Are you kidding me? Hawking products?
Yes, up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir. And then
the current trade conflict between the United States and China has progressed far beyond a simple exchange of tariffs, evolving into a complex, deeply entrenched, and multi-faceted geopolitical and economic struggle with significant, measurable, and increasingly profound impacts reverberating across the globalized world. Welcome viewers to my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like my video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next update.
We are going to be imposing a 25% increase. We're going to bring it from 25% to 50%, the tariffs. In 1 hour, and they announced what we were going to do, and they withdrew their little threat. And what they don't say in Canada is that
the very heart of this escalating confrontation is the U.S.'s imposition of a staggering 145% tariff on a broad and extensive range of Chinese goods, a policy that is not just a theoretical threat, but a deeply felt and present economic reality for businesses and consumers alike. This aggressive trade policy, an unprecedented move in modern economic history, has sent shockwaves through international markets and dramatically reshaped global commercial relationships. The tangible and undeniable effects of his policy are already conspicuously evident at major U.S. ports, where the flow of Chinese imports has been dramatically and systemically curtailed. For instance, the Port of Los Angeles, a vital and critically important entry point for a vast amount of Asian cargo, is experiencing a calamitous 1/3 decrease in scheduled shipments from China in early May compared to the same period last year. This precipitous drop is a clear and unambiguous indicator of a widespread and fundamental supply chain disruption, a seismic and disruptive event that will soon manifest as widespread product shortages and significantly rising costs for American consumers across a multitude of product categories. The Trump administration's initial and deeply flawed belief that China would simply absorb the financial burden of these tariffs without any meaningful or targeted retaliation has proven to be a profound and consequential miscalculation. The assumption that the Chinese economy, already grappling with its own internal challenges like a real estate crisis and slowing growth, would buckle under the pressure was a fundamental misreading of Beijing's strategic resolve and a failure to appreciate the deep-seated political motivations behind its actions. This underestimation of China's willingness to fight back has transformed what was intended to be a swift and decisive trade dispute into a protracted, high-stakes, and increasingly unpredictable standoff with no clear end in sight. The administration's rhetoric of winning a trade war has collided with the harsh reality of global economic interconnectedness, revealing the significant collateral damage inflicted on the American economy itself. China's leadership, under the resolute and nationalistic President Xi Jinping, has shown no willingness or inclination to back down or capitulate. Xi's public denial of any ongoing trade negotiations, which directly and forcefully contradicts President Trump's repeated claims, is a powerful and unmistakable signal of his unwavering resolve. This rigid and unyielding stance is rooted in a deep and fundamental political calculation. As a nationalistic leader who has meticulously cultivated a strongman image, she cannot afford to appear weak, submissive, or subservient to foreign pressure. Capitulating to U.S. demands would not only be an economic concession, but would also severely and irrevocably undermine his authority and the very political rhetoric that legitimizes and underpins his rule, which is built on a narrative of national rejuvenation and standing up to foreign adversaries. This fundamental clash of political personalities, national interests, and strategic objectives has transformed the trade dispute from a simple economic disagreement into a high-stakes, protracted, and ideologically charged struggle for global influence and supremacy. However, There are now undeniable signs that the U.S. is beginning to feel the acute economic pain and collateral damage of the conflict, suggesting that the initial confidence of the administration may have been misplaced. President Trump's recent and unprecedented hints at a willingness to reduce tariffs and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent's public and candid admission that the trade war is unsustainable suggest that the administration is finally recognizing the significant and widespread collateral damage the tariffs are causing to the American economy, impacting everything from consumer prices to manufacturing supply chains and leading to a projected decline in real GDP. The economic pain is manifesting not just in abstract numbers, but in the daily lives of American consumers and businesses, from empty store shelves to rising costs for essential goods. This dawning recognition of economic vulnerability is a critical turning point in the conflict, forcing a reevaluation of the entire strategy and its long-term viability. The once confident narrative of a swift victory is being replaced by a sober assessment of the enduring costs, both economic and political, of an all-out trade war. China's retaliatory strategy is not a simple, unthinking tit-for-tat, but a highly targeted, sophisticated, and strategically calculated approach aimed at causing maximum political and economic disruption. A primary and deliberate target is the U.S. agricultural sector, a critical and politically significant part of the American economy, and one of the few that enjoys a significant trade surplus with China. In addition to a massive and punitive 125% retaliatory tariff, China is employing a host of sophisticated non-tariff barriers and bureaucratic hurdles to systematically disrupt trade. For example, Beijing has delayed the renewal of export licenses for U.S. pig farmers and flatly refused licenses for poultry farmers, citing vague and unsubstantiated health and safety concerns. This strategy is politically astute and deeply effective because it inflicts direct economic pain on key states that form the bedrock of President Trump's political base. As the article notes, over 77% of farming-dependent counties in the U.S. voted for Trump in the 2024 election. By deliberately and systematically hitting these communities, China is directly and powerfully attempting to erode the president's support and weaken his political standing ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. The economic hardship in these communities is already creating a ripple effect, with farmers facing bankruptcies and rural economies struggling to survive, thus turning a trade conflict into a potent political weapon that could shift electoral outcomes and undermine the president's political coalition. The targeted nature of these retaliatory measures demonstrates China's deep understanding of the American political landscape and its willingness to exploit vulnerabilities for strategic gain, going far beyond simple economic retaliation and into the realm of political warfare. This approach is designed to sow discontent and create internal divisions within the United States, proving that China is playing a long-term game of political leverage. Beyond agriculture, China is strategically targeting other vital sectors of the U.S. economy, including the energy industry, another crucial and politically powerful source of support for Trump. By ceasing all imports of U.S. natural gas since early 2025 and turning to alternative suppliers like Australia and Indonesia, China is inflicting direct and measurable economic harm on the American fossil fuel sector, hitting key players and political donors in states like Texas and Pennsylvania. But perhaps the most potent, strategically significant, and existentially threatening weapon in China's ever-growing arsenal is its near monopoly on critical rare earth minerals. These minerals are not only essential for a vast array of modern technologies like clean energy, electric vehicles, and smartphones, but are also absolutely indispensable for the U.S. defense industry, used in the manufacturing of advanced military hardware, including fighter jets, missiles, and sophisticated radar systems. China has already demonstrated its willingness to use this leverage as a political tool, having previously restricted rare earth exports to Japan in 2010. By restricting these exports now, Beijing can potentially cripple America's ability to produce and modernize its military technology while simultaneously continuing to expand and enhance its own. This creates a dual-pronged and highly dangerous threat: economic disruption and a long-term erosion of America's military superiority, fundamentally altering the global balance of power and raising serious questions about national security. The vulnerability of a U.S. supply chain for these critical minerals is a direct result of decades of strategic planning and investment by